Hey, I'm live. Like to welcome you all to my first bass vlog, and hope to maybe inspire some of y'all, inspire some questions on the art of bass playing, the way I see it. Um, Hold on here. Just should have checked my level first. Oop, put the volume down. Turn everything on here. I am surrounded by technology and basses and whatever you can imagine. So let's see. I'm gonna go on my other my iPad so I can see what y'all are texting me, if that's the case, if anyone's on there. Let's see here. Facebook. Oh, YouTube. Okay. There we go. Now I'm watching. All right, so what do we talk about now? My favorite thing to talk about is the bass and what I do to play with Dovydas and everything that I need to do when we're playing together. So first thing I like to do is see if we can inspire some questions. Again, we only have a couple of people on right now, but I'll just start talking. I'm hooked up to my pedal here, which is a Boss ME80. Where is it? There it is. And there you go. Yeah, Boss ME80. I've got it preset right now with some compression, a little preamp, reverb, and echo. Yeah, typical bass player stuff, right? Not really. Most bass players like to have nothing. Just a lot of bass, and that's not me, never has been. Many years ago when I used to, back in the day, us old guys, that's what we talk about, but back in the day, I used to love playing through. I started off with a big giant bass cabinet, had an 800 watt amplifier, and then I expanded it to and it was a PA amplifier, big heavy thing, weighed about 50 pounds. It's a BGW 750, that's what it was called. Great amp, 8 ohms, 750 watts, bridged, incredible. Anyway, actually it was 4 ohms bridged, if that matters to any of you audio geeks. And then I kept adding to it. Then I ended up getting another cabinet, so I had 2 cabinets, BGW 750, and then a QSC 400 on the top, and compressors. I even had 2 digital delays, the first digital delays that I could see. All right, which do I prefer to play, electric or upright? It's all about tone and the ideas that I have going through my head when I hear what the people I'm playing with are doing. For jazz, I do not prefer electric. I prefer upright for jazz, because in most cases I'm working with a sax player and a piano player and guitar players, whatever. And the upright bass, sorry drummers, doesn't require drums as much as an electric does, because of the fact that when you play upright, you can play with dynamics. Let me give you an example. Here's my upright right here. But the dynamics of this thing, I can play soft and I can play loud. Electric bass, it's real hard to do that, but I can go like, and strings so I can actually, really adjust my dynamics quite a bit. Where the electric bass is like, there's no difference in amplitude between the two instruments, So, but anyway, for blues, upright. It just feels better. It's upright. When you if you really hold it close to your body, there's a really close relationship to it. You notice sometimes a lot of bass players have their basses way up high, whereas some guys have them down here by their knees. Well, it's all about connection. You want to be connected to your crotch area, great. But I prefer the bass being connected to my heart, which is up here, and frankly, that's where all this takes place. Your heart and your brain are very, very closely connected. So, yeah, there is some chemical stuff going on when you have your bass up here, in your even your fingers are like aiming towards your heart, versus this. I've been a proponent for this type of playing for a long time, as far as the way my fingers are always, pointed towards me. If you notice, have you ever seen the frets that are like, this, and then they change? Well, something to it. But this is how I play, most likely because I just got normal sized hands. A lot of great bass players have, fingers that are, a little bit longer. Jaco Pastorius, huge fingers. Stanley Clark, huge fingers. All the guys I looked up to. But then again, Jeff Berlin, great bass player. He was one of the first three guys that I went wow to when I was 19, and his hands are pretty normal, good sized fingers. But again, my strings here on this 7 string, they're real close together. Here's 4 strings are right there. Typically a 4-string bass, the neck is that wide at the bottom. So you've got the equivalent of where these 6 strings are. Well, that's a 4-string, so here I can play much closer together. I can play much closer, and it's something that, it means quite a bit to a lot of bass players. All right, so when did I start playing? Let's see, did that come in second? Yeah, that's the second question from Malachi O'Connor. Did I pronounce it right? Hopefully. I started playing when let's see, I have a cousin drummer and another step cousin, who's actually my cousin's cousin. Anyway, the 3 of us were like, the 3 amigos, and we were always hanging out together. So my drummer cousin said, let's have a band. John and I both wanted to play guitar. Well, he got a guitar first, so I had to be the bass player. And really, that's how I got my first bass. As far as when I actually started playing bass, really, was maybe a year or so after that, where I actually started playing with bands in high school. I was, I think, in the 10th or 11th grade when I really started engaging, the bass. But at that point, I was still listening to the lead guitar player, and the lead guitar player, was great guitarist. His name was Mark Wilkerson, and Mark, he could play Zeppelin. He played like Jimmy Page, and this guy was 17, 18, and again, we weren't much younger than Jimmy Page at the time, but this was in 1974, 75, 76. So that music at that time, Zeppelin, Sabbath, Aerosmith, those songs were the hip-hop of the day. They were the pop tunes. They were Taylor Swift. There was no Taylor Swift at the time. There was Edgar Winter, and there was Ozzy Osbourne, and again, Aerosmith. Aerosmith actually played when I was maybe 15, I guess. I was still up in the Boston area, and they had this big concert at a place called Franklin Park Zoo up there, and Aerosmith was the band. And they kept playing the song Dream On the commercial, and within maybe a week, somebody sponsored Aerosmith, and they actually went into the studio and recorded more than just that demo for the commercial, and that's where Dream On was born. And then my cousins and I rode our bicycles all the way to Boston, about 15, 16 miles. It was a trek to the Franklin Park Zoo, and saw that first concert. As a matter of fact, right after that, my cousin's high school booked them for his high school prom, which was the following year, and it was amazing. That prom was very, very popular. But yeah, that's amazing. You know, to have Steven Tyler. He was maybe in his early 20s at the time, playing a high school prom with Aerosmith after they were a hit band. That was Belmont High. I believe it was 1974 or 75. Anyway, but yeah, so that's the time when I started playing bass, and I was listening to the lead guitar player. And when I moved to Florida from Boston, that was also in '75, and so I listened to Mark, and he would show me all my bass lines, you know. So, I don't even remember the name of the song, but that was an Aerosmith. I mean, that was a Sabbath song, you know, and then see, now I play it up here like this. You know, but actually, I don't even think I was playing octaves at the time. I might have been. I was, let's see. I'm trying to remember the fingerings that I was using. You know, now I do. That was Iron Man. A really fun song, and that song was a blues tune. Just a blues. It was blues chords. It was just done to a heavy rock beat with distortion and just pretty dark stuff. You know, at the time I was saying, man, all these songs are in minor keys. No, actually, they were all in blues keys, because the blues scale is. That's most of Sabbath's big stuff. Zeppelin, pretty much the same thing, you know. Anyway, yeah, so again, minor keys seem to be the essence of most of the rock tunes at the time, you know. So anyway, again, questions are what I'm here for, but again, hearing me talk about when I started playing. But then, who wants to hear about when I met Dovydas? Okay, yes, no, maybe? All right, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Dovydas and I had a chance run-in one night at a blues jam, and it was the first time I went to this certain blues jam at a place called Aces, which was torn down. It's now a body shop. Okay, yes, Martin. Okay, Martin, he wants to hear it. Yeah, so I went to Aces, and there was a unnamed guitarist there, and some very well-known musicians were sitting in, and the unnamed guitarist was running the blues jam. And so this young guy walks up to me, because I'm talking to the guitar player running the things on the break, and we're having a conversation, and then David, which was his name at the time, he walks up to me and goes, "Hi, I'm David Smash. How do I play with the band?" And normally it's like, what do I have to do to sit in? Or where's the sign-up sheet? No, but he said, how do I play with the band? Anyway, I said, where are you from? And he said, well, Lithuania. I just got here. It's like, no kidding. Well, welcome. And he kind of sounded like John Wayne. Very, very interesting. And I said, man, you have a really great, you know, control of the English language, you know. So he signed up, and he was pretty much first up on that set. And up with him was Johnny Barker on bass, and I can't remember who the drummer was, but I can say Johnny Barker on the bass. And of course, everyone knows, if you've seen these videos with Johnny, with his, you know, dreadlocks and everything, his big hands, you know, he's a monster bass player. And Johnny he might be 30 right now. When I first met Johnny, he was 23, and just a tremendous bass player. Anyway, like Jack too, same thing. So Johnny was up there playing bass, and so Dovydas just got up there, and they started playing, and then they got to him, and he did a solo, and it was a pretty long solo, you know. And then keyboard player came in and played a solo, and then after the keyboard player, it was Johnny's turn, and I believe David started playing again, and so at that point, the unnamed guitar player went like this to the bassist. He'll remain unnamed too, so I won't incriminate him. He's a good friend of mine and a great, great bass player to the blues world. And so anyway, the bassist went and pulled the plug on Dovydas, and that's how it all started. And believe it or not, that would have been 2012, and 3 years later, there we were playing at Aces, competing against a lot of bands. During that time, that band of that guitar player was actually competing in a different competition in Naples. We took second place. We should have won, and one of the judges said, "Come to Orlando. You guys should have been the winner." And so we did. We went to Orlando a few months later, and bam, we won, and the rest is history, you know. And just, you might want to also check out these Dovydas videos on YouTube of the early blues jams, and you can actually see the first time the band ever played together. And it's a 20-minute video of our complete set for the 2015 Blues Challenge in Aces. So you might want to look for that on YouTube. It is on YouTube, and it is literally the first time any of us, I had performed with Dovydas, Sammy had performed with Dovydas, and Allen had performed with Dovydas, I believe maybe in jams or various gigs, but we've never had played together. And it was literally the first time Allen had ever seen or heard any of that music, and you're watching creativity at its absolute peak, or innocence, or whatever you want to call it. If people look at creativity as innocence, well, that's what it is. We all had our hearts wide open, our minds wide open, our ears wide open, and we put on a great show. It was visual, and we were having a blast. We had a good time. And that certain competition in August of 15, that was maybe, again, 3 years after the first time I'd met Dovydas, and I had ended up doing quite a few gigs with him. He had a regular bass player, or a couple of regular bass players. I wasn't one of them because I was always working. But whenever I played with him, the one thing I noticed was that even though some of the songs had with very simple forms, the owners of the establishments, management, the people in the audience absolutely loved what they were listening to. And me, coming from a world of, you know, rocket science, chords and jazz and everything, it was something that I decided to just go with, and I never questioned anything for every one of those gigs. I remember one time we played a song. It might be "Jump to the Dragons." Is that it? Jump on the Dragon? Jump anyway. And I decided I'm gonna add a chord to this, and I ran up to a G from the E, I believe it was, and that ended up being a pretty popular tune. Pretty sure it might have been that song, and of course that song grew up from that point. All right, let's see, Mason Thomas, yo, hey, how you doing, Mason? Where's everybody from? Let's see. I met Mason at Rudy's in Nashville a while back. Mason is a sax player. That's right. And Mason went, "You're that guy. Oh my gosh." Yep. Yeah, I remember you, Mason. Yeah, you're a great player, man. Just, keep jamming. That's what I do. I'm a big believer in jams. I started jamming when I was, let's see. Oh, someone's watching me from Poland. Holy cow. Hello, Poland. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I was 19. I had, so going back to my beginnings, I'm all over the place again. Got to learn how to do this vlog thing. When I was 19, I was in college. I was a trumpet player. My dad's a trumpet player, as everyone knows, and I had been playing since I was like 5 years old. And I was pretty good. I was a solo guy in the jazz band and played first trumpet in the concert band. I couldn't read that well, though. I just had a really good ear, and I was a really good faker. So I one day saw an ad for the Navy at 3 in the morning, and when the TV station was signing off, which they did back then, and I called the recruiter the next day, set up an audition for the band, showed up, played on trumpet. They said, "Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we can use you." And then I said, "Oh, by the way, I just started playing bass." And I had just started playing jazz with my sister Debbie, who's an amazing singer. She's in Las Vegas now. And turned out that was my thing. I could just hear changes and play the right notes without even knowing what the song is. So I went to the Navy audition, and they took a bass out, piano player and drummer came out, and I couldn't lose them. Any song they played, regardless of whether or not I knew it, I was with them, played the right notes, didn't matter what key it was in. And again, I did not know, these hands didn't know where to go. They were just kind of making really good, educated guesses by ear. And most people do play by ear. So I got to the School of Music, and it's a 6-month program. Most of the other players had college degrees, and I was way, way, way out of my league. And I got threatened my first bass lesson. I was there for, the first guy that auditioned me thought I was great. He almost gave me a high enough score to get out. And then the bass teacher said, "You have 3 years and 8 months left in the Navy. And you have to listen to me. You have to practice 8 to 10 hours a day. Because if you don't, you will be chipping paint on a Navy ship for the next 3 years and 8 months. Because we will flunk you." So that's how I got my start. I had, again, great ear, couldn't read a note, and so I learned how to read real fast. Took me not long, just a lot of practice, something that most musicians don't do. Most musicians don't practice too much. So, but anyway, I started going to a jam. Actually, somebody suggested, go to this jam just to get out. And I'd been practicing 50 to 60 hours a week during this 6-month program. And at least for the first 3 months of it. And I would go out jamming after I was done practicing on Sunday night in Virginia Beach. Met this great bass player named Dean Keenhold, who's an insurance salesman up in Orlando right now. And I haven't seen him since then. But he got me really going on jams. And I've been going to jams almost every week since then. I mean, I was on the road back in the 80s. After my 4 years was up in 81, I went out on the road. I was there on the road for about 6 years. And after, the 4-year thing. So yeah, it was a lot of traveling. It was great being a traveling musician, and I got to play with lots of well-known people from the 50s and this band from the 60s called the Spiral Staircase. And hey, Johnny Barker, I was just talking about you. Johnny Barker's here. Hold on, let me see who else is. Martin, Martin's from Germany. Okay, so we got Poland, Germany, and we got Sarasota. Let's see, Mason is amazed at the amount of tunes I know. Well, this is part of what I want to show people about playing bass, is that, and it's not just bass, it's how to play every kind of music you can imagine. The way you approach jazz, blues, hip-hop, rock, whatever it is. You need to listen to the song, period. And I can just tell you, in the beginning, I remember I was sitting in Florida. I sat out in my garage for 2 or 3 days, and I put on the tape player, the cassette player, and I'm listening to these songs with headphones and trying to play the bass lines, and I just couldn't hear them. It was really weird. I mean, I could hear them, I just, couldn't remember them. Something with my memory. I don't have much of a memory, but and then I had noticed that when one day my sister was auditioning educated bass players, and again I was 17, and so my dad said, let your brother try. So I tried it, and I'm playing all these tunes. It turned out I remembered all these songs that she had played, even though I didn't know them. It's just that I heard my dad play them, his dad might have played them, my sister, or they were on the radio, whatever. I grew up with these songs, so yeah, they were in there. We have to understand that subconscious memory of what we hear. It really goes in there. I think when we're young, are 1 billion connectors in our brain, and these neural connectors hold stuff. So it's kind of like the hard drive on a computer, really, really big. Holds like 100 gigs or a terabyte or 2 terabytes. Well, the RAM is only 8 gigs. Okay, that when you shut the computer off, the RAM goes away. Well, that's our memory. That's right here in our cerebral cortex. That's the part connected to what we learn in school and everything. But the rest of what we hear goes inside the brain, the part of the brain, and all these connectors that control our organs and our heartbeat and whatever. So that's what our ear is. Our ear is connected to that, more so to that part of the brain. So we're using all this extra storage, and this comes with 20-something years about 20 years of research that I've done. And everyone thinks music's a math thing, but again, we do remember what we hear. Anything we practice, especially hard things, if we pull them off, if we play them like there was this Jaco thing I had learned years ago. I can remember the first Jaco, that's Jaco Pastorius. I can remember this song called Teen Town, and I don't know, it's harder to play with all these strings, but yeah. Anyway, Johnny, you can probably play it in your sleep. But that song I could play cold on my fretless bass, no problem. Oh, by the way, I played fretless for 25 years as the only bass I played before I went to this. That's another story, but I'll save that for another vlog. But again, 19, 20, 21, I was in the Navy, and I kept getting better. I kept getting a lot of gigs on the outside, so I got myself a job working in electronics, the supply area, fixing electronic things. And these guys who, believe it or not, invented digital technology for the Navy were in the next wing, and I went and learned everything from them, including they showed me all their digital equipment, how it worked, and so I got to see digital before digital was cool, actually before anyone knew what digital was. I went to school after the Navy. A few years after I got out, I went to technical school, got a little engineering degree, and again, I had some knowledge in here so I could kind of see the future. As a matter of fact, right now I'm working on a low latency platform for us to be able to play together in real time. So stay tuned for that. Um, anyway, yeah, so that whole time through the Navy and then going out on the road was great. You know, I played various different kinds of music. The jazz guitarist Herb Ellis challenged me right about the time I got out of the Navy to go out and play top 40. He said, you can already play jazz, you can already, you know, groove, you got a great feel for this, but if you want to be a commercial bass player, meaning someone that plays everything, you got to play everything. So you got to play this new rock stuff that they're doing in the Holiday Inns and the Sheratons. And he hooked me up with an agent. Agent hooked me up with a band literally the next week, and I'm on the road. I went to 13 different bands in that period of time. My favorite one was the Spiral Staircase, and they had a song called I Love You More Today Than Yesterday. That was a big hit in 1970, sold like 20 million copies. You know, it was I never knew what day it was. Anyway, a girl sang it with the band, and believe it or not, the song is in F. I believe it's actually higher. I never knew what day it was. Anyway, the hook line was, I love you more today than yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow. I love you more today than yesterday, but only half as much as tomorrow. And that was a man named Pat Upton who sang that song. It was too high for a woman to sing, so the whole time I was with the Staircase, they had up to 3 women up front, usually 2. Let's see, we had Kelly, Brenda, Laura, Lisa, and Julie. Boy, Laura and Julie were sisters, amazing. They're both, you know, great singers. Lisa's an awesome singer. But yeah, I stay in touch with most of them. And Kelly, she could sing like Sheena Easton, who was a real big deal back. She was like the Mariah Carey of the day. But yeah, Spiral Staircase was a lot of fun, and that was one of the last bands I was in before I had my own band called Snafu. It was like a Navy band project. We hired all ex-Navy band members, and it turned into an all-guy band. Our last female singer, her name was June Kranick. She's real big in sales with Hilton right now. But anyway, yeah, she was fun. And but yeah, we became an all-guy band, 6 men, and we toured mostly around the South because we were good enough. We didn't have to travel up to Iowa, or places like that. And yeah, we played Disney a lot, Miami, Lauderdale, again, lots of gigs in Orlando. But yeah, Snafu was an awesome group. And we would learn five songs a week, new songs. We just learn them, and we get rid of 5 every week. Just keep creating set list after set list. So my thing is the 80s. That's when I was really out there playing the current music. Was 80, well, let's say 78 in the Navy. I did top 40 in the Navy too. But from 78 all the way to maybe 87. And everything from 87 to 90. It's kind of a black hole here because I wasn't listening much. I decided to become a stockbroker. Don't ask me, that's a long story, but it was a little 12-year detour, which I ended up playing a lot of jazz in. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot to having a career in music, and right now, best way to have a career in music is to teach. And to teach, you got to really know what you're doing. It doesn't matter how you play. What matters is, do you understand how you do what you do? So this bass, this 7-string bass, came to me uh, Halloween 2005. I had been playing fretless bass again since 78, 70, 79, 78, yeah. So 2005, in Ringling Brothers, we're playing at, what was it, South Dakota, that place where, what's it called, all the presidents had Mount Rushmore. Yeah, we're playing at the Mount Rushmore Arena, Halloween '05, and drummer lets me know he's selling his 7-string bass. I didn't even know he owned a bass, so I jokingly said, I'll give you $500. And he jokingly said, you play it next show and I'll think about it. So I did. He brought it over to my motorhome, and I tried it out, and I went and played it, and I never put it down. It was really weird. It was the first fretted bass I had played on a gig in many years. So, and yeah, I couldn't look at it. Now I can look at the bass. I still get lost when I look at it, but my hands kind of know where they're going. It's because I play this bass, all basses, in half positions, and half position is the way the upright players play. And the reason I learned half position was because I was playing a fretless bass on a dark stage, completely dark stage with Ringling Brothers, and I was reading. And so there was no choice. I couldn't be looking down at my neck because the notes were in front of me. So that was a real wild opportunity, you know. And again, playing with Ringling Brothers was, again, it was called the greatest show on earth. Those of you from Europe, you know, and Poland, yeah, the greatest show on earth. It was, we were in the 127th edition, I believe. It was 2004, 5, and 6 with the gold unit. My wife, Christine, who you may have seen on the videos, I finally got her to play with me. She was on keyboard too, and I was on bass. We made a ton of money, and everyone, I don't know if they hated us, but they didn't love us because we made a lot more than anyone else in the show. At least we had the big motorhome, or the biggest. I wasn't thinking about stuff like that. I was just thinking, let's have fun. And we did. So it lasted 2 years. We took our son Nick, who's now an awesome drummer, on the road with us, and he did homeschool from the road, or circus school, and just had an amazing time doing that. Unfortunately, there's no more circus, so at least no more Ringling Brothers. There is a touring band out there, or two, so if any of you would like information on touring with the circus, it's one of the hardest gigs you'll ever do. I played 46,500 notes, give or take, at least once, well, one night, 5 days a week, and on Saturdays, 3 days a week. So imagine that, that's 100 and a lot, that's a lot of notes, whatever it comes out to, 140,000 notes in, from noontime to 8 p.m. So 8 hours, 100, that's a lot of notes. I mean, the first song was, I mean, I can't even play that steady right now, but I mean, and it's me on my fretless bass, and in a big arena, you know, it seats 20,000 people through a 30,000 watt PA system, and the bass is cranked up and it's bouncing off the back wall with a delay on it, and everyone had headphones on, and I was driving the band nuts. It wasn't my fault, but that I was the loudest. That's the way Mr. Feld wanted it. So it kind of put me on the spot, and I had to learn real quick to, again, play in tune and be on the beat. And I can say I actually played 2 perfect shows out of 758 shows. So yeah, that's like something that is just not in my upbringing. Anyway, let's see. So I was, again, 80s. After the 80s, again, became a stockbroker. Did that for about 12 years. Again, exercised the same kind of creativity I did on bass, except in the investment world, and got really into telecommunication stocks because I understood them. I got them, and they were real forward-thinking companies. But during that time, I played jazz with some really amazing musicians who in Sarasota, Florida, people retire down here after having amazing careers in New York and wherever, some in Europe and California. And so I get to play with these guys, and I get to get in their heads and steal their ideas. And so they're all in my head. So when Dovydas and I play together, he's not playing with a blank slate, you know. And let's see, somebody here, W30, oh, weird guy, okay, hey, glad to see you too. Yeah, anyway, as I said, when I'd done a little 1 minute thing about quarter after 2, saying that I was going to be on at 2:30. Nick wants us to go fishing, you know, Nick the drummer, my son, and that's the only way we get to see each other, because he's got his full-time, you know, gig, you know, keeping the streets safe, and his girl Ashley is in the healthcare field, so we can't really get super close, like be in the same house. But when we do get together, we go fishing, we stay so far apart. And go check out my videos. You'll see a video of Nick catching the biggest fish. Man, it was killer. It was last week, so I made a video about that. But yeah, so I've got maybe, I don't know, about 10 more minutes here. Now, Davy 504. Right, I'm going to stop with me, and let's talk about Davy 504. Thank heaven for Davy 504. He has made the bass fun. And, you know, again, bass is a serious instrument. We're the most important guy in the band. Hopefully there's no guitar players watching. Anyway, along with the drums, you know, but we're very, very important because we hold that bottom, we hold the pulse, you know, and the longer you do it, the more times your fingers do this. My fingers are getting stuck. I forgot to trim my guitar picks, but anyway, fingernails. I got long fingernails. So anyway, I'll take them this way. But yeah, so just playing a simple line like this can do so much. When I get up and play with a band, and this has been happening for like 20 years, simplest band, blues jam, and they'll be doing a shuffle. And I'll just get up there and I'll do a shuffle. And I remember one of the first jams I went to, this great drummer named Frankie Toller, used to play with the Allman Brothers. He was on drums, and his brother Danny was on guitar. Yeah, I love dropping these big names, you know. Anyway, Frankie hands me his card after we're done, and all I'm doing is we're just playing, yeah, we're playing like Keep Your Hands to Yourself, stuff like that, 1, 4, 5 tunes. And he hands me his card. He said, "Man, that was great." And all I was doing was just playing. No bass solos, no Davy 504 stuff. So for my whole career, I really take pride in those notes, in this feel, you know, because there's so much in what they call the pocket, where you get a little behind the beat or get ahead of the beat. It's funny, you can't tell when there's nothing going on, but pocket, that's something else. I did a little video last year or so when I did a thing about pocket. And pocket's real important to very, very experienced musicians. So all they want from a bass player is a guy that can just get in the pocket, and when you're in the pocket, you disappear. They don't hear you. You're part of this. You're part of what they're hearing, you know, and you become part of the thing. So that's basically the pocket. When bass players, when you do that, the love isn't quite there when there's guitar players and drummers on stage and the bass players getting funky. So I cheat. I just use my thumb for lines where most people are going. I'll just see, and I also mute with my left hand a lot. See, when I use my thumb, I never play with an open thing. Also, another thing I don't do when I'm playing with my thumb is playing the key of B. Again, 95%, 98, 99% of all bass thumb things are in the key of B. I don't. Now, I am not a thumb player. Johnny is a thumb player. Johnny is awesome. But I will be doing videos on me learning how to play by thumb. I've been threatening to do that forever, and now's a good opportunity since I don't have my normal 5, 6, 7, 10 gigs a week, and I got time to do it now. So, and I did take a lesson with one of my idols, Jeff Berlin, yesterday. It's amazing. I can take a lesson from a world-renowned, very, very, very serious bass player for about not much more than I'm charging for, to give a bass lesson to a student, and so anyway, it was a great lesson. He actually showed me something that, again, I play everything in half positions. He was showing me everything in full positions, and so that tells me I gotta practice. Let's see, someone from Oregon. Wow, I remember your pocket thing. All right, and Johnny says, I love hearing Johnny. You are Johnny Barker. I remember the first time I saw Johnny Barker play, and I was like, whoa. And then it was we were at the same jam. He heard me play, and he goes, Mr. Bruno, you're amazing. Thank you oh man, I just love the way you play. And from someone that can play like you, Johnny, that's a real compliment. And you actually give me a lot of inspiration to practice. And practice is very, very important to everything. And to me, practice is every minute I play, I practice. And Jeff Berlin, well, he's got me practicing some stuff that I can't play with a band. So anyway, and I'm going to spend the next couple of months working on things that he's asked me to do in hopes it'll stretch my abilities. And I play some fun lines. All of my lines that I play, if I recorded every gig I did, every bass solo I did, you probably couldn't lay one on top of another because they're always different. So that's how I'm wired. That's how I'm put together. Anyway, what I'd like to do is end things here. And I'm sorry if you just came into this session here. I'm about to leave. You're making me a lot more comfortable. Thank you very much for your interactions. And what I should do, let me do another one tomorrow, same time. It might not be in the same place because Christine might have a lesson. Let me see. I'm next to her piano right now, so I've got her book here. Same time. No, it can't be the same time. All right. All right. How about? Wow. All right. Tomorrow, you people in Poland, it's going to be late at night, but it'll be about 6 o'clock. Okay. So I'll go live and tell everyone when it's going to be tomorrow. So it'll be at 6 because I want to do it where I've got all my equipment around me. Because my wife Christine has a full day teaching. She starts at 11 and goes all the way to 6 online. So anyway, we'll see you all tomorrow. And again, thank you very much for being here for my first vlog. And I look forward to any questions that y'all might have. And if you want to send me videos of you all playing, I might be able to give you some pointers if you're looking for pointers, or if you have questions, just find me on Facebook. That's JoeBrunoBass. And so find me on Facebook and friend me, ask me questions on the messenger, okay? I look forward to talking to you. Or else you can send me messages on YouTube too. And I'll get those on my Gmail account. And my YouTube email is JoeBrunoBass@gmail.com. All right, y'all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.